Dear Net, I am so disappointed in you. You used to be my perfect little angel, but now you are nothing more than a little, all caps, slut, floozy, all used up.
Good morning, good evening, or good night. I don't know when y'all watching this. What's up, y'all? It's Elise. Today, we are going to get into the Jennette McCurdy book, I'm Glad My Mother Died. Some of y'all might not have heard about this. I used to watch her growing up, so this was interesting to me. Just something other than the usual drama we've been into, so let's get into it.
I am so disappointed in you. You used to be my perfect little angel.
It's the story everyone is talking about.
But now you are nothing more than a little slut, floozy, all used up.
But no one knew.
Add that to the list of things you are. Liar, conniving, evil.
After years of suffering and silence, iCarly star Jennette McCurdy joins the table for her first in-depth interview to reveal decades of abuse, manipulation, torment, and betrayal.
You're an ugly monster now. Love, Mom. Or should I say Deb, since I am no longer your mother.
At the hands of her mother. All while, Jennette starred in one of the biggest teen sitcoms of all time.
My mom would be chasing my dad around the house with a literal steak knife.
How did the abuse with your mom affect your relationships?
Ooh, that is a big, juicy question.
How she was finally able to set herself free.
Oh my God, I'm already gonna get emotional.
An unforgettable RTT not to be missed. For years, we knew her as Miranda Cosgrove's wisecracking, lovable best friend on the hit show iCarly.
There's no wrong time to eat an egg roll.
And the spin-off Sam and Cat with Ariana Grande.
Come with me.
By the age of 15, it seemed like Jennette McCurdy had it all. But at home, it was a living hell. After years of suffering and silence, for the first time, Jennette McCurdy is bravely sharing her story in her new best-selling memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. And it is striking a nerve with millions.
Wow.
Crazy, right? Okay, so the book begins when she's at about age 6. She definitely has memories from when she was younger, which is wild, but that's how trauma works. The more traumatic, either happy or sad, the more your brain holds on to them. Or depending on who you are, they get dumped out. But book starts when she was at age 6. Her mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer when she was about 2 years old. Her mom became a hoarder pretty much. It was like a house of 6 or 7, like a grandma or the grandparents, the mom, and I think like all of her siblings. They had a huge rat and possum problem because the mom, when she was diagnosed, she became like attached to objects. So it was like, oh, let me keep that Kleenex, or let me keep this doll, or let me keep this or keep that, because those objects held value to her, more value than before. So that's just kind of how she dealt with it. The house was disgusting. She hated being there. It did not feel comfortable, and it was just not a good environment.
My earliest flashes of memories are of a household that was very weighted in tragedy. My grandparents moved in with us during my mother's illness, and my mother, as a result of her cancer, she became a hoarder.
Jennette was raised Mormon and lived at home with her mom, Deborah, dad, Mark, her grandparents, and 3 older brothers, Marcus, Dustin, and Scott, and what she describes as a hoarder house with a rat and possum problem.
I remember a time when Marcus, Dustin, and Scott slept in their trundle bunk bed and I slept in my nursery. But now our bedrooms are so filled with stuff that you can't even determine where the beds are, let alone sleep in them. We don't sleep in the bedrooms anymore. Trifold mats were purchased from Costco for us to sleep on in the living room. I'm pretty sure the mats were meant for kids' gymnastics exercises. I do not like sleeping on mine. This house is an embarrassment. This house is shameful. I hate this house.
A little bit like to just tell like how she was raised, how her mom raised her. They were raised Mormon, so, you know, very strict. For example, they can't have anything with caffeine, tea, coffee, or alcohol, and they can't date until they're 16. Well, ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, shouldn't be hot in the ass dating before then anyway. But very strict culture, you know, or like religious beliefs, I should say. So Jennette later on develops an eating disorder around the age of 11. So by the time she was in her early 20s, Shorty was 90 pounds. 90 pounds. Now, she's not that tall. 90 pounds. That's sad. So her mom basically taught her anorexia or calorie counting or like intermittent fasting at 11 years old. So basically Jennette tells a story about when she didn't want boobs anymore. She didn't want to grow up. Her mom would constantly do this thing with her and her brothers where she would squeeze them tight and say, oh, don't grow up. I want you to always stay my baby. And yes, my mom has done that to me too. But I mean, she wasn't serious. Like, she wanted me to grow up, wash my own clothes, you know what I'm saying? Make sure I knew how to do this, do that, make my own money. Like, she was like, you know, it was just a state of mind where it's like, you know, I don't want our bond to leave, you know, the bond where it's mommy and daughter and you need me for everything. Doesn't mean you love me any less or I'm going to love you any less, but that's just a part that I don't want to leave. Now, normal parents, they know that that's going to happen, but you see Jennette's mom was like, yeah, no, we're fighting DNA, we're fighting genetics, we're toe-to-toe, let's battle it out. Calorie restriction it is. You don't want titties? You don't got to have titties. Don't eat no greens, potatoes, and steak. And we're on. Together forever, mom and daughter, with our sickness.
She told me, well, there's a thing called calorie restriction. Wow. And it became our sort of secret and our code, and something that, as disturbing as it is, really bonded us. Right. It was our thing. Yep. Wow. No one else got this thing. We got this thing. I can look at you from across the room and know you got me and I got you. Yeah. And we were just in the disease, in the sickness. But there was a connection that the sickness created that I, of course, couldn't see at the time.
Yeah. Right. Jennette paints a heartbreaking picture of her life at age 11.
I proudly show my half-eaten portions to Mom after every meal. She beams. Each Sunday, she weighs me and measures my thighs with a measuring tape. I learn the value of eating water-dense fruits and vegetables like jicama and watermelon. I learn how helpful cayenne and chili peppers are for increasing your metabolism. I learn that coffee is an appetite suppressant, so I start drinking decaf black alongside Mom. Drinking coffee in any form is technically against the church's rules. Well, it's decaf, so I'm sure God would make an exception, Mom says, and I nod like I agree, even though I'm pretty sure the God I've learned about doesn't make exceptions. The thinner I get, the stricter I get with what I'll ingest, because it seems like my body is trying to hold on to whatever I eat. I notice that most foods add a little body weight to me, 0.4 of a pound or so. I know this because I weigh myself 5 times a day.
Damn. So Jennette was basically like, all right, shorty, things are weird. She finally realized that, like, so when she would go to the doctor and the doctor would say things like, oh, well, watch her eating this or watch her eating that, and her weight is really low, so we want to keep an eye on that and just look out for anything that's unusual, he tells the mom. And the mom would be like, oh, yeah, I'll keep an eye out on that. You know, I'll check her. Nothing seems weird, but, you know, I'll definitely keep an eye out. And Jennette's like, shorty, you is the eyes. The hell is going on here? So she's like, wait a minute. My little brain, even though it's malnourished and I need some more nutrition, it's working. And it's working enough for me to know that, bitch, you's a liar. Bitch, you lying. Like, why the doctor saying this and you saying that, but you doing this and we doing that? Like, what? So anyway, that's wild. And then it's just that her character on this Nickelodeon show, she was always obsessed with food. The character was. So can you imagine the torture that was for her? The character always had food, chips, subs, obsessed with food. But yet this girl wasn't eating any.
It was when I heard her saying things to the doctor that I knew to not be what was happening behind closed doors. Right. I thought maybe, something's really doesn't feel right in my bones here, because my doctor's saying your daughter's really underweight and I would like you to keep an eye on her behaviors, because sometimes when girls develop anorexia, they're very secretive with their patterns. And my mom's saying, I'll definitely keep an eye on that, but I don't see anything off about it. And I'm thinking, she measured my breakfast today. She made sure that I had lettuce with no dressing on it for dinner last night. Like, what does she mean she'll keep an eye on it? She is the eyes on it, you know? It was confusing to hear, and I kind of started piecing together, the things that she's saying outwardly don't match what's happening in our house.
In the house.
Yes. And it was so confusing at the time. Right. Being caught up in anorexia or binge eating disorder or bulimia, and then while playing this character who's like slinging a fried chicken leg, like beating people with a ham sandwich, it felt like my life was mocking me in a lot of ways.
Oh, this next part, ay, Dios mío. So her mom made her and her 16-year-old brother take showers together. This lady has a real problem. They are not children. He has a hole growing into a man peen. She probably has little pubic hair start. Like, what are we doing? They had to take showers together for years. The boy was 16. And I'm guessing Jennette had to be like 11 and getting older. Like, what the heck? So her mom would make them shower together. And then she would give her checks She would give her checks, body checks, not just a body check, a front butt check. Yep, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all heard me the fuck right. A front butt check. You know what she was checking her front butt for? Cancer. Is that not weird? So Jennette was like, okay, this lady has had it before. Maybe she knows what she's talking about. Maybe she knows, so she can check my boobies or whatever little boobies I have and check my front butt and my back butt. Oh, my God.
You were what, 11? 11?
Wow.
So do you want to read the excerpt?
Sure, yeah. Net, shower time. Mom shouts from another room. My whole body freezes. Oh no, not shower time. I've dreaded showers for a while, 5 years or so. Whenever it was that I started to feel uncomfortable that Mom still showers me. She doesn't mean to make me uncomfortable, I don't think. She says she has to shower me because I wouldn't know how to shampoo and condition my own hair. She says maybe if it wasn't so long or such a specific texture that she wouldn't have to. But because it is those things, and since she was a professional hairstylist, it just makes sense for her to do it. Mom showers me with Scotty sometimes. He's almost 16 at this point. I get really embarrassed when she showers us together. I can tell he does too. We usually just look away from each other and Scott distracts himself by drawing Pokemon in the fogged glass. He does a pretty good Charizard. When she showers us together, Mom says it's because she's got too much to do. Scott asked if he could shower himself once. Mom sobbed and said that she didn't want him to grow up, so he never asked again after that. Whether or not Scott's there with me, Mom gives me a breast and front butt exam, which is what she calls my private parts. She says she wants to make sure I don't have any mysterious lumps or bumps because those could be cancer. I say okay because I definitely don't want cancer, and since Mom's had it and all, she would know if I do.
How did that...
Ay. So basically, Jennette goes on to talk about how people in her family literally begged her mother to get help. Like people on the outside, they could see that this problem was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So Jennette and her brothers, they actually had a good relationship. They were close, which is very good. And they're still close to this day, even though their mom tried to be a smartass and say that her brothers have disowned her. They actually haven't. Anyway, her and her brothers were starting to realize Mom has been cray-cray from the beginning. Well, the boys already knew. And they kind of, told Jennette what was going on. They were like, hey, Mom had an affair for like 7 years. Shorty had she had Jennette and 2 other kids. And the man that she was with, that Jennette calls dad, he only actually had the first kid with her. And then the other 3 were by somebody else. So Mom was, woo, Shorty was wow out this joint. Okay, so that's when not when the cray-cray really started, but Mom was crazy for doing that. But the guy was also crazy for sticking around. I don't know. That's all crazy. But being close to her brother, she started to unravel that her mom has been developing issues for quite some time now. Like she was feeling like it was just her and she was the reason and it was just being done with her. But no, Shorty's been cray-cray for a minute now.
Did they ever try to be like, hey, this is really not right?
They beg.
Wow.
They beg.
Yeah.
My mom would be chasing my dad around the house with a literal steak knife. And he'd say, Deb, you have to get help. You have to get a handle on this. You can't be doing this. Yeah. She wouldn't. She didn't want to change or couldn't face it. She needed to change. And then eventually in therapy, after just sort of sharing stories of my relationship with my mom, they suggested that she might have had some combination of bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder.
Whoa.
Maybe all 3.
All 3 together.
Yeah. The steak knife thing, that was a frequent situation.
Yeah.
There were many, many versions of the steak knife and other tools. She would grab sort of whatever was on hand. And our neighbor did threaten quite often to call social services. Our neighbor, Bud, he would always pound on the door in the middle of the scream fights, and then my mom would hand him a box of See's candies and bribe him out of calling social services.
So Jennette's grandmother is still alive, and Jada asks how her grandmother felt about the book title. Obviously, she wasn't happy about it. That's her daughter, But seems like Jennette kind of has some issues with her grandmother as well, because she said her grandmother is incapable of keeping boundaries that she has set for herself. If Jennette says, please don't make comments about that, or please don't make comments about that, grandma don't give a fuck. Grandma don't care. Grandma done forgot. Grandma gonna make that comment. My grandma kind of do the same thing. I don't know. I guess it's something with being older or just being like, shorty, I'm setting my ways, whatever boundaries that you have, I'm finna cross them. I don't know. But she's about to talk about her grandmother. Listen to this.
Did she know about the book, your grandmother?
She does.
Oh, wait. Your grandmother outlived your mother?
Yes, yeah.
Whoa.
She's still outliving her. She's in Kentucky in a senior citizens facility. I have very strong boundaries around my relationship with my grandma, and my brother shared with me that she was not happy with the title.
Right.
But I expected that. I'm not surprised at all.
And you have strong boundaries around your grandmother just because of...
Abuse. I tried to have a relationship with her, and it was very clear to me that she was incapable of honoring literally any boundary that I set. I mean, things like, can you please not comment on my body? It's really, detrimental to me, and I want to believe you have the best intentions, but these comments are really harmful, and please, can you stop? She'd say, sure, and then 5 minutes later, another comment would come out, and she just seemed incapable of honoring the boundaries, so ultimately it was a matter, okay, I just can't have a relationship with this person.
Gotta take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jennette goes in to describe how she didn't really want to be famous. She didn't want it. Her mom was living vicariously through her, and Jennette really didn't want to act. She was never like, oh, I want to be on TV, or I want to do this, I want to be in commercials. No, nothing, none of that. Her mom thought it was a way for them, well, she knew it was a way for them to get money. She would take her out on auditions, and then she ended up getting the gig at Nickelodeon. And then after that, her mom just kept using her and using her and using her, even though she didn't want to do it for fame, for the money. Jennette goes on about how she just wanted to be a kid. She just wanted to be a damn kid. She wanted to go in, go out. She wanted to go outside, play with her friends, say what's up to the ice cream man, come back inside, get yelled at, talk about don't be running in and out, so she can go back outside, play with her friends. You know what I'm saying? She wanted to be a part of the in and out gang. That's what kids do. In and out, in and out, in and out. Like, she wanted to be a kid, okay? It was difficult for her being the breadwinner of what? A house of what? 7? What the hell was the grandparents doing? Well, I guess they wasn't working. But the mom was putting her to work. It was difficult for her. That's sad. That's a lot of pressure to put on a little girl. And especially a little girl that's only 90 pounds at 20 years old. So when she was younger, how much did she weigh? It's a lot, people. Are y'all getting it? This is a lot.
I started to thoroughly dislike fame by the time I was 16, but by now, at 21, I despise it. Millions of people dream of being famous, and here I am with fame and hating it. It doesn't help that I'm famous for a thing I started when I was a kid. I think of what it would be like if everyone was famous for a thing they did when they were 13. Their middle school band, their 7th grade science project, their 8th grade play. The middle school years are the years to stumble, fall, and tuck under the rug as soon as you're done with them because you've already outgrown them by the time you're 15. But not for me. I'm cemented in people's minds as the person I was when I was a kid. A person I feel like I've far outgrown. But the world won't let me outgrow it. The world won't let me be anyone else. The world only wants me to be Sam Puckett. I'm aware enough to know how annoying and whiny this all sounds. Millions of people dream of being famous, and here I am with fame and hating it. I somehow feel entitled to my hatred since I was not the one who dreamt of being famous. Mom was. I would have been content being a kid. Mom pushed this on me. Since it's not my dream, it's not my problem how I feel about it. I'm allowed to hate someone else's dream, even if it's my reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this next part is for all those, raise your hand, that grew up in a trauma-induced, very volatile, high negative energy, very antsy type of household. Me. So you already know how this affects your relationships. It feels like home in some sense. It feels like this is okay. Feels like this is normal. I can deal with it. I deal with this better than anybody else. You know, I can get through it. You know, it's normal. I can get through it. You know, it's bad, but it's not that bad. When low-key, it's really fucking bad. But listen to how Jennette was affected by it. And listen to what her mom did when she found out her daughter was on a date. Now, don't forget she ain't want her daughter to grow up. Listen to the email that her mother sent her. This is wild.
Ooh, it can feel so, like, intoxicating and like comfortable.
Feels familiar. Feels like this is love.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's like, that's what you know. Your foundation was built on that.
Yes. You also ran away to Hawaii with your boyfriend.
Yeah, that was pure rebellion. You know, there were some paparazzi pictures that somebody had taken of us, and then my mom found those paparazzi pictures. The relationship had been a secret from her. I understand why she was disapproving. There was a significant age difference, but I don't respect how she handled it. She sent me many scathing emails just telling me exactly how disapproving she was.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an email that my mom sent me. And to think, you wasted it on that hideous ogre of a man. I saw the pictures on a website called TMZ. I saw you rubbing his disgusting hairy stomach. I knew you were lying about Colton. I had told her I was with a friend, Colton. Add that to the list of things you are. Liar, conniving, evil. You look pudgier too. It's clear you're eating your guilt. Thinking of you with his ding-dong inside of you makes me sick. Sick. I raised you better than this. What happened to my good little girl? Where did she go? And who is this monster that has replaced her? You're an ugly monster now. I told your brothers about you, and they all said they disown you just like I do. We want nothing to do with you. Love, Mom. Or should I say Deb, since I am no longer your mother. P.S. Send money for a new fridge. Ours broke. The P.S.
P.S. Send money for a new fridge.
Wow.
Right. What was the age difference between you and Joe?
I was 18, he was 32. 14
Right.
years, yeah. And I think it was no coincidence that he and I sort of began our relationship very shortly after my mom's recurrence of cancer.
Right.
The way I see it now is sort of, okay, I knew Mom's dying, I need a replacement. But something I am grateful for in that relationship is that I was hearing for the first time how unhealthy my mom was.
Right.
So when I would get an email like that, you know, my instinct was to say, I'm this terrible person. How could I have done anything like this? I would believe what she said about me. I would believe I'm a slut, I'm a floozy. And Joe was helpful in getting me to see that there was another side to that. And that, yes. I feel like it's so hard, too, to not have this guilt complex because it is, this person gave me life.
Yeah.
They gave me the ultimate gift. How is there room for such complex feelings toward them? How is there room for, you know, I love my mother. Oh, my God, I'm going to get emotional.
I know. I feel you.
You know, like, how is there room for such complexity toward this person that I wish it could just be purely love. I wish it could just be purely the thing that I thought it was when I was little, but then through the exploring and excavating of everything, I just realized that there was so much more underneath it.
And how old were you then when you were able to go, let me deal with this?
23 or 24. Everything I said was prefaced with a disclaimer of, well, this happened, but my mom meant nothing by this. I couldn't just say the truth to my therapist. There was a disclaimer and protection and guards around every single thing that I said. And at one point, she'd said to me, like, you don't need to defend her every single time you bring her up. And that opened the floodgates. Oof. I recognized in that moment, oh, wow, I'm doing a lot of mental gymnastics here to keep my mom where I wish I could keep her. And I know that if I want to be healthy, I'm going to have to not have her be on that pedestal anymore. And it just happened.
Some of those things Jennette brought up were really, really good points. I'm going to recap that in my conclusion at the end. And I knew Jada's home life wasn't, like, perfect, but I didn't know, like, she had, like, abusive or, like, neglect issues with her mom, which was very interesting and yet very nice to see that they actually worked through and are trying to work through their drama and their traumas. Sometimes people go through things, or mother and daughters or parents or whatever, and it's never talked about. Nobody ever says anything. So I think that's sweet. I think that's endearing. And I think that's a really, really, really good step. But check out what they said that their therapy experience was like.
When did you all start therapy?
We've been in and out of therapy for years.
Can you share a little about that?
Well, you know, Jada, I was an addict. Even though there wasn't any physical abuse, it was the emotional abuse and not being there, you know, not being present. So there's, you know, the neglect.
Wow.
And Jada was lucky, I was lucky that we had a village.
Yeah.
I had a village, and that's why she's as strong and the person that she is.
Get the tissues. A matter of fact, can we bring some tissues out here?
So what's your relationship with being a crier?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
In my household, just in my mother's addiction, and I was her only child, and it was usually just the two of us, so it wasn't room, to like feel. It wasn't room to cry. I cry about everything now.
Yeah.
I call it
the
thawing out.
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't until 10 years ago that I just started thawing out. All of that suppressed stuff and just allowing myself to feel. So instead of me going, nope, you can't feel that, I go, yes, you can. So I actually love being the crier at the table.
Now, that was a cute, candid moment. I'm not really into Jada like that. I mean, she is doing her boy Will Ziertzy. You hear me? Ziertzy. All right? But that was a cute moment, and it was definitely a learning lesson to know that not everything tragic that happens in families has to be pushed under the rug. Even if it's a little while later, it can be talked about, rehashed, and possibly made light into something that was really, really dark. So after that, they ended with Kelly McDaniel, a specialist, coming out. She wrote a book about mothers and the trauma between mothers and children and things like that, and what she's experienced doing her therapy, therapizing a lot of families. So that was pretty interesting. You can go to Red Table Talk on Facebook and like watch the end of that if you want, but that's not about to be in the video. In conclusion, make sure that you have boundaries with people. I don't care how many people call you a bitch. I don't mean how many people say that's not right, I don't want to do it. Create your own boundaries with your mother, your father, your siblings, grandma, everybody, people at work, because people like to cross boundaries. It's like human nature for some people to just cross a boundary. I don't understand, but it's important to make sure that self-care is first. I don't care what people say. I have set boundaries, and when I've set boundaries, people don't like it. Why? Because they want to do what they want to do to you, and that's not going to happen. You're not going to do whatever you want to do to me. I'm going to set this boundary, and if you don't follow it, I don't care who you are. I have to protect myself at the end of the day. I have to protect myself, my body, my soul, my mind, my finances, whatever it is. I am in charge of protecting that. This temple. So if you respect my boundaries or not, if you don't, you have to go. And it doesn't matter who it is. A lot of people think that just because it's mom or it's a family member that they can let people get away with disrespecting their boundaries. No, sis, nah, bruh, nah, ma, nah, dad. You're not doing that. We're respecting these boundaries, okay? Step over the line and repeatedly step over the line, then consequences are going to have to be had. That's what you taught me, right? Growing up, if you don't do certain things or you cross certain boundaries or you don't follow certain rules, you get in trouble. You get reprimanded. And as you grow up and you become an adult, you realize that your parent, whoever's in your family, they too are just adults. They're not superhumans. They are adults, just like you've grown up to be. And they expect you to follow certain boundaries, and they want you to follow certain rules and things like that of their house or whatever. You have to have the same thing. I now have boundaries as a grown adult. Also, try not to trade one toxic situation or one toxic person for the next. Maybe have done that before, you know? Try not to do it. Like I said, because trauma and being volatile, it feels like home. That's not home. That's not where our heart naturally wants to be. That's not where our body and our mind, that's not what we're set up to be. Down with the toxicity. Down you go. Fuck that shit. Everybody trying to be happy on these streets. Also, is crying okay? Do you feel like it's okay to be a crybaby? I don't think you should be a crybaby, but I do think it's okay to express your emotions. Whenever I feel like really deeply about something, I give myself 3 days. 3 days, okay? 3 days or a week max, depending on what it is. Cry, scream, listen to the music you want that makes you feel sad. It makes you just want to throw your pillows and bang on your walls. Do it all. Get it out. Go in your car, bang on the steering wheel, put it in park and rev the engine. Whatever you got to do, but you have to rev the engine, but keep it in park. Like I said, let's not do nothing crazy now. But you have to feel those emotions. It's okay, because if you keep it bottled up, it's going to come out another way. And I know you probably hear this a lot, but it's true. It's real. It's a real thing. Everything has a limit. Everything has a limit. Everything has a cap. Okay, there's only so much somebody can take. So you have to kind of like a balloon, let a little bit of that air out, let a little bit of that air out, and just keep working on trying to express your emotions when you can. Communicate. Get out of toxic situations, especially once you realize it's toxic. Also, being vulnerable. I hate being vulnerable. Who else hates being vulnerable? Give me a like if you hate being vulnerable. If you hate letting people see you cry. If you hate letting people see your real emotions. That's something I got to work on. So, vulnerability, that's hard, but it's necessary, because in relationships, you got to be vulnerable for the other person, because if you're just boom, 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 hard as a rock, hard as a wall, that person, if they're deserving of it, will never see you. They'll never see your soft, mushy insides. They'll never see who you really are. And you'll be constantly thinking in your head, yeah, but that's not who I am. Okay, sis, but who are you showing them? What are you showing them? The and capability of being vulnerable? That you are okay with toxicity, or that you don't mind it? What are we showing them? What are we showing people? And also being accountable. For example, Jada's mom was accountable for the things that she did, and she was grateful that she had a village. Be accountable. You have to be accountable. Once you know that you're in a toxic situation, be accountable and get yourself out of it. Whatever it is, moving, therapy, whatever the case may be. There's always accountability, and both sides have to take accountability, especially after you realize you're A, either being toxic, or B, you are in a toxic situation. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, definitely give me a like. It don't cost you nothing, but it definitely helps me out. Also, share this. If you think somebody would like my content or like the video, share it so they can subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a family member. I will see y'all next week. Deuces. Peace.